Highway happenings. In this thread, post anything X related to highways, Autobahn. Lots of weird shit tends to occur near them. Lots of places have specific superstitions, like holding your breath driving near graveyards. Gas station stories are welcome too. When I was 7, my father was driving me and my brother to school. We live in a pretty rural area, about 5 kilometers from the outskirts of town. It was really foggy outside. It was November. We hear an engine, but really faint. Suddenly, we hear something coming behind us. It sounded like a fucking plane. One blink of an eye later, the sound stops, and all we can see is 2 red spots about 500 meters away. My father stopped the car on the side of the road. When he checked the car, he saw the molten rubber was stuck on the side of the car. He didn't want to talk about it. Be me, over-the-road truck driver, driving 18-wheeler, west through Arizona into California, about 10 p.m. at night, long lonely desert stretch of I-10, see maybe 1 or 2 cars pass me per hour, about the same amount on the eastbound side way off to my left. Notice some white object far away, about the distance of the eastbound road. Figure it's a reflection of my headlights. White object begins coming closer to the truck, keeping pace at 60 miles per hour. Definitely not a reflection. Now that it's closer, looks like a large sheet of white plastic, like a tarp or a shower curtain blowing in the wind. It's flying along, keeping exact pace with my truck, getting closer still. Realize it's shaped like a human body, with arms, legs, and a torso and a head, but flat. Just like plastic in the shape of a human, going 60 miles per hour right alongside me in the desert. Have nowhere to go, too scared to slow the truck down. Can't go any faster because the engine has a limiter on it. Have to just keep the truck straight as this thing is getting closer and closer to my window. It comes right alongside me in the left lane of the 2-lane road, right by my window. Its limbs keep flapping in the wind like a crazy person, and the part that would have been its head keeps twisting up like when you wring out a towel. Now that it's close, realize it must be about 12 feet tall, with its body probably longer if stretched out. Can't tell exact length because of how violently it's waving its arms and legs. It stays with me for a solid minute before it shoots off ahead of me, going at least twice my speed because it is out of sight in about 2 seconds. I drove for about an hour more in absolute confusion and dread, with no idea what the hell just happened. It honestly looked like a flat 12-foot tall person who could fly was running alongside of me just to fuck with me. Another truck driving story. Driving through Texas, heading south towards Laredo, about 2 hours south of San Antonio on I-35. It's about 8 p.m. and the sun is almost set. Entire western horizon just a brilliant shade of orange and pink. Deep forest of trees, probably a pecan or peach orchard or something, stretching off to the horizon on my right. I notice a large flock of birds flying up from the trees, far enough to look just like little black specks. Probably hundreds of them, all taking off at once against a beautiful sunset in silhouette. Just kind of zone out and let my truck drive itself as I watch this awesome sight. Suddenly, after the last few birds take to the sky, see a huge shadow of a bird coming behind them. The thing is big enough that I reach my hand out, arm fully outstretched, and spread my fingers out, and the giant bird's wingspan from my perspective was as wide as the tip of my thumb to my pinky. It's so far away I can only see the silhouette against the sunset, but up close the bird, or whatever it was, must have been about the size of an airplane, or even bigger. Watch it as long as I can, but eventually it disappears into the night sky and I lose sight of it. I have no idea what it was, but it might have been what cryptozoologists describe as a thunderbird. Unfortunately, I only saw it in silhouette. One more. Driving through Louisiana, honestly don't remember if I was heading east or west. A few miles outside of New Orleans, about 3 a.m., middle of a swamp, lonely highway. Might have been I-10? Pouring down rain, visibility is near zero. Concentrating on the road, try not to drive off into the swamp. Suddenly get this horrible sensation of dread, like my life is in immediate danger. Can't explain it, never before or since have this experience. But all at once, I just know 100% certain that I need to move over into the left lane right now. I trust the instinct, move the big ass truck over the lane, and just as I do, there's a giant fucking alligator or some shit laying across the entire right lane. If I had hit that alligator, even just going like 45 or 50 miles per hour, I could have slid off the road, probably into the swamp. or flipped the whole goddamn truck and almost certainly would have died. Only reason I survived is because I trusted the sudden dread that hit me seconds before. Keep driving, slowing down, in something like shock, wondering what the hell just happened. Up to the right, sitting in the grass dividing the road from the swampland, noticed just on the edge of my headlights, a person sitting cross-legged in all that rain and darkness. Person, or whatever it was, is bright pink, sitting in the Buddhist lotus position, absolutely naked, with no facial features. Bright pink, smooth head like a mannequin. Middle of nowhere, Bayou, Louisiana, raining like a fucking hurricane, edge of a thick swampland. Just sitting there, chilling out, facing the road. I see this shit about 10 seconds after I narrowly avoided death because of pure instinctive reaction. You see really weird things driving the highways at night. Nobody ever believes me when I tell them these stories, but I swear, absolutely, they are completely true. I've told this one before, but it's been a while. Living with friends on an island in the marsh outside Savannah, Georgia. Riding home from in town with my roommate. Tells me the night before, he and a mutual friend were on the causeway leading toward the island and saw a deer in the road that disappeared in front of them. I'm calling bullshit. We turn onto the causeway, drive a good way down it. In the middle of the road, we see a man with white skin, hair and clothes. Only see him for an instant before my friend turns on his brights and the guy disappears. At first, I don't register it. Then my friend says, "Did you just see that?" This is what convinced me without doubt that at least some paranormal things are real. There's no way two people who weren't on drugs or schizophrenic just happen to have the same hallucination at the same time. Traveling from New Jersey to Maine with my wife and kids for a summer vacation. My boy has the poo and visibly distressed, so we stop. Rest stop, almost midnight. Not many cars, just a few trucks and a few gruff dudes smoking cigs outside the restroom. I bring, let's call him Johnny, in to use the bathroom. Bearded fat guys at entrance whispering to each other and eyeing Johnny like me. I pull him close and put myself between him and the smoking dudes. We enter the first stall and I stand next to him as he does his business. Suddenly feel a poke on my side with something hard. What the fuck, that gif? Looks down. There is an erect penis sticking through a hole in the wall. It is fucking disgusting and diseased looking. Like there are a bunch of sores on it. At one point that had healed, leaving little chunks taken out of it. I quickly move out of the way, making sure to block it from Johnny's view. Once he's done, I realize that wiping his bum here is not a great idea. I don't know what to do about the disfigured cock sticking through the wall. Come to a conclusion. Tell Johnny not to worry and hold my hand over one of his ears and press the other against my leg so he won't hear what is about to happen. Take out my lighter, one of those blue flame torch lighters, and carefully position it under the underside of the dickhead. Light lighter. The dude must have been on drugs or something because the lighter was touching his penis far longer than I expected it to. He screams in agony and pulls his burnt dick back through the hole. I quickly pick up Johnny, pull his pants up, and rush out the stall. The guy is thrashing around the stall, squealing like a little girl. Smoking dudes come in the door looking shocked. I barrel right through them while shielding Johnny best I can. I run to my car to find my wife smoking a cigarette outside the car, yell at her to get in, and hand her Johnny. Peel off with the bearded weirdos chasing my car, barely get away from them. I have an uncle who lives in Mexico. He used to do deliveries until last year, and was a total fuckhead about it. He was an alcoholic and would drive overnight through all sorts of shitty places just to get his deliveries over with. He told me that before he quit, he was doing exactly this. Traveling well after dark, taking a strange route to cut down his delivery time. But then he saw bright lights in the distance. This was in the middle of fucking nowhere, and got nervous because any idiot knows the cartel is always out after dark, doing fucked up shit. As he approached the lights, he saw they were headlights, and there were trucks blocking the road. Some dudes with guns told my uncle to get out and question him about what he was doing. Then they went off to talk to some dude who was sitting in one of the trucks. My uncle was sweating bullets, thinking he was gonna get killed. He looked over to the side of the road and saw a different truck, and there was a kid in the bed of the truck lifting out body parts and tossing them into an open pit. My uncle said the kid couldn't have been older than 13 years old. His face was covered in blood, and he had blood and guts all over his shirt and pants. The kid looked at my uncle at one point, and my uncle could see that the kid was crying. The dudes with the guns came back and told my uncle to get the fuck out of there. If they saw him after dark again, they'd kill him and his whole family. So my uncle took off and never did that shit after dark again. My family were on a vacation, and since we had no car, we traveled by bus. It was long hours, around 6 or so of the trip I remember. We were on the way to our destination, and we were traveling by night. I was by the side of my mom in the window seat, which luckily had a nice view on the outside, as there was only one lane, so I had direct view of the scenery. It was around 2 a.m. and I just couldn't sleep. Being the dreamy kid I was, I had business watching the scenery to give in to sleepiness. I remember watching the sparse houses, the towns, and the hills, all the ever-changing things, bathed in the darkness of the night. At some point, thanks to random lamps, I could see clearly, and at other times it was absolute darkness, only somewhat perceptible thanks to the moonlight. At some point of my observation, I remember coming across a bull-like figure, standing on top of a hill. It was so dark, I could only make sense of the contour, the head, the horns. I remember how a cold rushed down my spine as the cow figure proceeded to stand on both feet, still facing my direction, reaching a height of around 3 meters. This time, I could not only see his head, but the contour of his legs and wide chest, or hands at the sides. I didn't say anything. I just stayed silent, thinking about what I had just saw. Following the inability to find any sense of what I might have seen, I shook my mother's arm and woke her up, telling her about the thing. Her response was naturally that of disbelief. Just kids having a wild imagination. She must have thought. I have no idea what the thing could have been. The closest thing I could think of is the Greek mythology's Minotaur, but it'd be way too far from its home as I'm from Mexico. Another thing I thought of was the devil, as a horned humanoid figure is a common way to portray him. What's up, X? I'm drunk as fuck tonight and would like to hear some trucking/long haul trucking stories. I'm not a trucker myself, but I used to work receiving and heard some shit. I'll be typing them out as I go. Be receiving for a grocery store. Truck is late by 45 minutes. Come in pale as fuck. As I break the seal to unload the truck. Ask me straight up if there's any weird shit between our store and the other one that's an hour away. Say I've seen some things on the highway, but ask what he means. Says about 20 minutes outside of another village, he saw another truck. It had its 4-way flashers on and the driver's side door open. He slowed down to a crawl looking for the driver. No driver in sight. He stops the truck, and with high beams on, is looking around. Sees the driver of the truck face down on the side of the road. He knows the driver, so he gets out and tries to see if he's okay. Driver is also a grocery truck driver, wakes up freaking out. He's talking about shadows and shit. By this point, the driver I'm talking to is getting a little overwhelmed, so I calm him down and get him to sit on the stairs of the warehouse. I unload all the pallets in record time, wanting to hear the story. Guy says the other truck driver was delirious, didn't know what time it was or anything. By this time, it was 9 p.m. I know because that's when the store closes. I had to stay and wait for him and called him. He didn't pick up. He thought the guy was off his shit on drugs. Sad because he was a recovering addict. Helped him back up and towards his truck. Guy's rambling about shadows still and seeing shit. Trucker realizes the clock in the other guy's truck is stuck at 5:03. He said some shit about time being tracked and that time being wrong was super weird and shit. I just nodded my head because I'm a receiver and deal with weird people every day. Said he didn't want to be left alone in case they came back. He said, "Who the fuck is they, man? You're all fucked up." Other driver was super dehydrated and down like 2 bottles of water. Said he was driving on the 123, the highway number, and suddenly the truck just started losing power. He lost control of the steering and it just went off to the shoulder of the road like he was parking. He's freaking out at this point, gets out of his truck thinking something is fucked up. Says the last thing he remembers is 4 shadowy figures coming up out of the woods and by his truck. Then he wakes up in horrible pain, like his whole skeleton hurts. Trucker guy in my store said he helped him back up into his truck and told him to get some rest, keeps driving. 20 minutes on the highway from my rural store. This highway, by the way, is a shitty paved road through the deep woods. It's straight the whole way. Said when he got about 20 minutes away, his truck just started losing power. No matter if he hit the gas, the engine did nothing. Said his truck stopped on the road and suddenly he felt paralyzed. Weird shadowy figures come up on the road and start trying the door. He said they looked like people but just the shadows of them. Door was locked. One of them just stood there on the step looking at him, blacker than black against the dark forest. At some point the engine seems to roar to life. The shadowy thing climbs off the step and just leaves. The delivery goes normal after this. Another one. Delivery driver who delivers donuts and stuff. It's 7:30 a.m. He comes in all happy and stuff. He's usually a total prig, so I ask him what's got him so happy. Says he got laid just a few minutes ago and she's still in the car. I look at the car curiously to see who was the one who sucked his dirty old cock. There's no one in the passenger seat. I tell him this. He becomes angry, then scared. Says he swear he had someone in his passenger seat. Everyone else is having a good laugh at him, thinking he all made it up. I ask him to describe the woman. He says she was 5'11", blonde hair, blue jean jacket, pink shirt, tight pants. The older people in the warehouse get quiet. I have no idea what's going on. Old guy Richard asks for the name of the girl. Guy says her name was Katie. Everyone is silent. I say, well, maybe she just left after the parking. Huh, I want this crazy man out of my store. He laughs and says, maybe. He leaves and I ask Richard what the fuck that was all about. He says Katie was a girl who used to trade sex for drives to cities a couple hours away. She got hit by a truck driver before I was born. Every now and then someone comes in saying they picked her up somewhere on the highway. Another one again. It's one of the milk delivery guys. It's a Saturday about 9 a.m. I'm hungover as fuck. Really don't want to be at work. Guy tells me about hangover cures. Is in quite a mood. Usually he's super chipper and enthusiastic. Ask what's going on. Says he seems more toned down than usual and if he's okay. Tells me about the problems with his GF. I had the same problems and failed to solve them, so I tell him what not to do and make fun of myself being single. Says the other thing bothering him is he thinks he was abducted by aliens. There are plenty of people in my area who think they've been abducted, all of them druggies. Says he's not on drugs. He was doing a delivery to a place with a native name. It was a rush order and he took it because more money. Said he delivered the dairy products, called it in, the papers were signed, and he went on his way. It was on the way back to the head office that it happened. He was driving alone, listening to a Steely Dan album. He saw an orange flash in the sky. Thinks, wow, that's crazy. Suddenly, it's dawn. He's on the same stretch of road, driving by the same old buildings. It was 11 p.m. last he looked. Now, it's 6:55 a.m. and he has 23 missed calls from his GF and boss. It's 3 a.m. where I'm at, so I'll tell one more before bed. Guy who delivered Lay's was a dickhead. Was never prepared and always blamed someone else for his mistakes. He finally gets fired, and it's a woman who is the new intern delivery person. Very friendly, has done this before, and has the order already done. I already like her more than the last guy. Asked me if I've ever been to the store up north from us. Says it's super creepy and way less friendly. Tell her I didn't know there was another store up north. I look it up and yeah, sure enough, there's a store up north about 3 hours away. Says when she delivered there, shit got weird. I asked her what happened. She said she got there and this old woman was the receiver and didn't seem to know what to do with the slip she gave her. She thought she could just do the order and sort it out after, as a rush order, when she got back to the office. Said there was no radio in the store and she didn't see another person the whole time. No customer or cashier. When she went out to the warehouse again, the old woman was gone. Said she was a little weirded out but still needed someone to sign off. No matter where she went inside the store, there was no one. No manager, no other worker, no cashier or anyone. She gathered up her things and just peaced out. I told this in Greentext form before and it wasn't directly witnessed by me. Rather, told to me by a cab driver who was scared of driving my drunk ass from a city to my tiny hometown. This was Ukraine in the late O's, around New Year or Christmas. Eventually he budged and agreed to drive, no extra payment or anything. Asked him why he was being such a pussy and he told me this during the drive. Be me, night in spring, drop off a girl at her apartment block. Driving back down the highway, going along the neck of the local reservoir lake, about 1.5 hour drive back. Absolutely ridden with potholes, so driving slow. Maybe 1 or 2 other cars drive past, otherwise nothing. My hometown was supposed to be a satellite for a nuclear power plant, which was frozen in construction when Chernobyl happened. So it is in the middle of nowhere, surrounded by fields of nothing with a big coolant lake. The area around its north side used to creep the shit out of me when I was a kid. When I went fishing there with my grandpa, there was just something wrong with it. Weird poles, crazy slabs, and abandoned construction material just laying around, all overgrown and untouched since the 90s. I had nightmares of being teleported there in the middle of the night, cruising down the highway along the north side, radio off, tired and on the edge. A rabbit runs out from the tall grass into headlights. Cool, whatever. Slow down a bit. Something runs after the rabbit, a thin but huge hairless dog, like an anorexic man running on all fours. looks very ratty and is running all fucked up, like a fawn's gallop. Get really weirded out and speed up, trying to overtake the meth dog. It slows down and turns its head back, making eye contact. Stomach drops. It has tiny little T-Rex eyes. A short, thin snout. Almost no hair. Really fucking creepy. Can't shake that it looks like a weird man or a dinosaur. Speed up and lose it from sight. Driving 60, listening to the radio. Feel better. Can't wait to clock out and get home. Suddenly feel really uneasy. Something moving in my peripheral vision. Deep blue something. Could hardly see it in the dark. Meth T-Rex dog is running parallel to the car. Head is shorter, meaning it's fucking looking at him in the eyes. Audibly whimper, fucking nearly crying. Eurodance probably in the background. Pedal to the metal until it disappears in the rearview mirror. Arrive in city. Make sure to stay in lit streets. Expecting the ghoul dog to turn the corner after him any minute. Fucking shook for the next couple days. Suffice to say that story stuck with me. It really sounds like a nightmare I'd have. We had a local stray dog problem in the 2000s. A couple people were even surrounded and attacked. There were rumors of the chupacabra circulating around the school because we didn't know it was a Mexican thing. I had a fear of dogs as a kid since they were just big ass stray hunter breed mutts walking around playgrounds and chasing cars. Back then the packs of strays numbered in the dozens. I personally think he saw one of those. Maybe a sick one, and it was skewed by his tired slate into this weird creature. The cancelled nuclear power plant was turned into a cement plant, so sadly no radiation mutant theories, lol.